mess hall buzzed with the usual chaos of lunchtime. New recruits, fresh-faced and full of swagger, jostled for seats, their laughter echoing off the walls. Among them was Private Miller, a young man whose confidence often tipped into arrogance. His eyes scanned the room, landing on a woman quietly cleaning tables near the kitchen. She was unremarkable, her features plain, her movements efficient and almost invisible. But what caught Miller's eye were the scars. A web of them crisscrossed her arms, peeking out from the sleeves of her simple work uniform. Miller nudged his friend, smirking. "Check her out. Looks like she got into a fight with a lawnmower and lost." A few of his buddies snickered, their cruel whispers carrying across the room. The woman didn't flinch, her expression unchanging as she continued her work, wiping down a table with a steady hand. Miller, emboldened by his audience, raised his voice. "Hey, lady, what happened to you? Did you forget how to use a vegetable peeler?" The laughter grew louder. The woman finally looked up, her gaze meeting Miller's for a brief, unreadable moment before she turned away and headed toward the kitchen. Just then, the double doors of the mess hall swung open with a resounding bang. Silence fell instantly. Every recruit scrambled to their feet, standing ramrod straight. In the doorway stood General Thorne, a living legend whose presence commanded absolute respect. His face was a mask of cold steel, his eyes sweeping over the recruits like a hawk searching for prey. He was flanked by two senior colonels, their expressions equally grim. The air crackled with tension. General Thorne never came to the main mess hall. His appearance meant something big, something serious was happening. General Thorne marched into the center of the room, his boots echoing on the polished floor. Estopat his gaze binglung, seeming to pierce through each and every recruit. "At ease," he growled, his voice low but carrying to every corner. The recruits relaxed slightly, but the tension remained thick enough to cut with a knife. "I'm here because we have a situation. A Hivalu asset has been compromised deep in enemy territory. The extraction mission is a go-stop. Off the books, with a near-zero chance of success." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "Standard teams have been ruled out. The terrain is too hostile. The enemy alert level too high. This isn't a job for soldiers. It's a job for a phantom, a whisper in the wind. We need the best. We need someone who can walk through hell and come out the other side." The general's eyes scanned the room again, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths. "We need someone who has done it before." The recruits exchanged nervous glances. Who could he possibly be talking about? No one on this base fit that description. They were all soldiers, trained for conventional warfare, not this kind of impossible, clandestine operation. The general seemed to be looking for someone, his gaze sweeping past the sea of uniformed soldiers. Private Miller, still puffed up with his earlier bravado, felt a shiver of unease. The general's intensity was unnerving. General Thorne's gaze settled on the entrance to the kitchen. "The problem," he continued, his voice dropping even lower, "is that our best operative retired. Said she was done, said she wanted a quiet life." He took a slow step towards the kitchen, his eyes fixed on the doorway. The entire mess hall held its breath. The quiet woman from before, the cleaner, emerged from the kitchen, a tray of dirty dishes in her hands. She seemed about to walk past the general, her eyes downcast, just another member of the civilian staff. She didn't seem to notice the three-star general standing mere feet away. Miller watched, a contemptuous sneer forming on his lips. This plain, scarred woman was about to walk right into a legend, and didn't even have the awareness to stop. She was just a civilian, clueless and out of place. But then, General Thorne spoke, and his words shattered the world of every person in that room. His voice, once a low growl, was now filled with a strange mix of desperation and profound respect. "Wraith," he said, "we need you." The name hung in the air. Electric. The woman froze. The tray of dishes slipped from her grasp, clattering to the floor with a deafening crash. She slowly, very slowly, lifted her head. The unassuming, quiet facade melted away, replaced by an expression of hardened steel. Her eyes, once dull and lifeless, now blazed with an intensity that outshone the general's. This was not a cleaner. This was a predator. Private Miller stared, his jaw hanging open. Wraith. The name was a myth, a ghost story told in hushed tones in the barracks late at night. Wraith was the deadliest operative the Special Forces had ever produced. A lone wolf who completed missions deemed impossible. An agent so secret, their identity was a classified secret above the General's own pay grade. They said Wraith had more confirmed solo extractions and eliminations than entire battalions. They said Wraith had disappeared years ago, presumed dead or retired to an unknown corner of the world. And she was here, wiping tables, being mocked by an unthing recruit. The scars on her arms suddenly told a different story. They weren't from clumsiness. They were the roadmap of 100 battles fought in the shadows. Each mark was a testament to a mission survived, a life taken, a hell she had walked through. Miller felt a wave of cold dread wash over him. He hadn't just insulted a civilian worker. He had mocked a living legend, a force of nature wearing a janitor's uniform. The woman, Wraith, looked at General Thorne. "I'm retired, Genera," she said, her voice quiet but firm, carrying a weight that defied her simple words. "I'm done with that life." "I know," Thorne replied, his own voice softening. "I wouldn't ask if it wasn't Sergeant Evans. They have him. You trained him. He looked up to you." A flicker of emotion crossed Wraith's face, a barely perceptible tightening of her jaw. She closed her eyes for a long moment. The entire mess hall was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Every recruit, every officer, every cook in the kitchen was frozen, watching this unbelievable scene unfold. When Wraith opened her eyes, the debate was over. The quiet cleaner was gone, and the Phantom had returned. "Where's the briefing room?" she asked, her voice pure, cold efficiency. "And get me a proper uniform. This one's seen better days." Without another word, she turned and walked beside the General, the two colonels falling in step behind her. They moved as a single unit, their purpose absolute. As she passed Miller, her gaze brushed over him for a fraction of a second. There was no anger, no contempt. There was nothing. To her, he was less than air, an insignificant speck she had already forgotten. And that complete, utter dismissal was more terrifying than any threat could ever be. Miller felt himself shrink, the weight of his ignorance and arrogance crushing him. He finally understood the old saying he'd heard from a veteran sergeant on his first day. On this base, you salute everything that moves, because you never know if the person mopping the floor is the one who could break you in half without breaking a sweat. He had just learned that lesson the hard way. The mess hall remained silent long after they were gone, the only sound the faint rattle of the fallen dishes on the floor.